EMSR. Today we're going to talk about the EMSR. And the EMSR stands for Early Morning Success Ritual. It's a routine that you do in the morning that prepares you to have a great day. So, I created a video on the NTSR, the Nighttime Success Ritual, which sets me up to have a great day today. And to get to lock in having a great day today, I do the EMSR, the Early Morning Success Ritual. So let's talk about this. In the EMSR, I get up at 4:55 in the morning. That's when my alarm goes off. At 4:55 in the morning, I usually take a couple minutes and I just think about the upcoming day. I lay in bed and I think about the upcoming day. And I answer the question for myself of what am I excited about today? So on this day, it's a Friday. And on Fridays, I have a ton of meetings. So basically from 10 a.m. until 4 or 5 p.m., I just have meetings straight through. These are when I meet with my high-end one-on-one clients where I work with them and teaching them how to trade. So I meet with them every week where we check in on their progress and we answer the questions. So what am I excited about today? Well, my wife is out of town and I'm excited to take my daughter to school because I get excited seeing her go off to school and just seeing her walk in, helping her get ready. Then I'm excited to work with my students. Specifically, I'm excited to work with some of them on very specific problems. I have a student, Craig, that I'm working with, that we're going to be working today on helping him use the method, which I teach, on how to trade his long-short book. Not just on how to make a trade or how to identify a trade, but how to manage a portfolio of long and short names. So this is something, he's done that for years, but I'm teaching him how to do it in a very different way. I'm teaching him how to do it using options, so that his exposure is always limited and that he knows how to manage the portfolio optimally using the method to analyze spreads and using options to be able to manage correlations and create a profile where he makes money regardless. I should re-say that, where he can make big money on moves without having to take big risk. So I'm excited to work with Craig on that today. I'm excited to lift. I'm going to lift at 5 o'clock today with my trainer, Matt, my partner, Matt. Matt is one of the greatest lifters. He's one of the greatest power lifters of all time. And I'm so blessed to get to train with him. And we're close friends. So I not only get the pain of lifting, but I get to hang out with him. So that is awesome. So those are things I'm excited about today. Now, once I think about that, then I basically go to the bathroom, and while I'm going to the bathroom, while I'm sitting on the toilet, today I read Jesus Calling, which is a devotional, a Christian devotional on the Bible and on the relationship with Jesus specifically. And I read passages from the Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles is it's a text, it's a series of books that there were two professors at Columbia, one of them a Jewish atheist, both of them very anti-God, who felt that Jesus came over them and commanded them to write the Course in Miracles. And so they wrote that over 18 months. And reading the Course in Miracles, it's very interesting to read it alongside the devotionals and the Bibles. So I read both of those in the morning. And then I keep some stats. I have a journal. I have some stats that I keep every day. I keep track of what is my weight. I keep track of my waistline. I keep track of how much sleep I got yesterday. I keep track of how many meals I had, how many good meals I had, over how many meals I had total. And so I keep track of stats like this. So I always have data to go back and refer to. So I've done that. I've kept stats on that for basically about 12 years. So I can go back any day in the last 12 years and I can tell you how much I weighed on that day. I can tell you how I ate. I can tell you how I slept. I can tell you if I worked out, or keep working out is one of the things I keep track of. And I can see trends in my data. So it's very fascinating. So I do that. and then I'll weigh myself and check my waistline. One of the reasons I check my waistline is, especially like if you're lifting, like I always had this mental block because I associated, even though I knew in my head what was the case, I associated that if I was gaining weight, that I was getting fat. I was putting on fat. And so I had to have a metric that I could know that I was gaining weight and not getting fat. And so the waistline is the way I do that. So for example, for me basically in the last year, I've lost about 4 inches off my waistline. Now, if people look at me, they think I've lost a ton of weight, but I actually haven't lost all that much weight. What I've done is I've lost a lot of fat and I've replaced it with muscle. So the way I know my bullshit number is really my waistline. If my waistline stays smaller and my weight is going up, I don't care. That's actually great, right? That means I'm putting on muscle. And putting on muscle is actually a very difficult thing. I hear people say, well, I put on 8 pounds of muscle. That's probably not accurate. I mean, if you can put on 3 to 5 pounds of muscle in a year, you're doing fantastic. That's in a year, right? So like my friend Matt, who I said is one of the greatest power lifters of all time, he's also been a successful competitive bodybuilder. He'll talk about like, you'll have somebody that is great in that sport. And you think about over 5 or 10 years, they'll put on 15 to 40 pounds of muscle. And he goes, and that's a lot. He goes, think of a chicken breast. You know, a chicken breast is like half a pound. So when you put on a pound, it's like putting 2 chicken breasts on your body. Anyways, just some food for thought. So I keep that data, so I have that all in place. Then from there, I come down here. And coming down here, I basically, right away, I take a green shot right here. This is how I make sure I get my greens every day. This has spinach, kale, celery, lemon, and E3 Live, which is kind of like, it's almost like taking like algae or something like that. So I take that, and then I take this. This is called Ion Gut Health. I'm actually switching to another product, but the idea behind that is I take a drink of that, and what that does is that supports the gut. Supporting the gut is one of the most important things that you can do. A high percentage of Americans have leaky gut. And what leaky gut means is that when you eat food, you literally leak the food nutrients out of your gut. Your gut is like, it's kind of like it's like a webbing. And that webbing gets cinched, when you're healthy, it's cinched tight, and then nothing escapes the gut. And then your stomach acid dissolves everything in your stomach, and you get to absorb all the nutrients of your food, good and bad. Okay, but good and bad. But you do absorb them. But when you don't take good care of your gut, you get leaky gut, and that's when this webbing becomes loose. And then when you eat food, you actually start having the nutrients from the food that you ate. It just starts leaking out of your stomach. And you're unable to break it down. You're unable to absorb it. Now, if you cannot absorb nutrients, then you're going to be malnourished. And it's interesting. So people with leaky gut, it goes one of 2 ways. They either get really obese or they get really, really skinny. But in both cases, they're not healthy. So I take that because I had gut issues, so I take that to support my gut. Then I get into doing what I showed you in the NTSR. This is the different version. This is where I take this product called Fortigen. So I'll take Fortigen, and I'll take this with creatine, which I showed yesterday, and I'll put that in water. I'll take that with the electrolytes I showed you yesterday, and I'll shake that up and I'll drink that. And that's now getting essential amino acids to my muscles right away when I wake up, helping them to continue to repair. So sometimes this sounds like a lot, but it actually doesn't take that long, and it's a habit. And one of the things to remember is that you can build a great life. To build a great life, you stack habits. You do one thing for a month, and then you add something the next month. And then the first thing you added is it's a ritual. It's just a habit. It's just on autopilot. You do not think about it. So I'll put this drink together and I'll take this down with me. As I mentioned yesterday, when I first get up at 4:55, I start sipping this early bird morning cocktail. So I've been sipping this. This is about 2/3 full right now. I'll continue to sip that, and I'll drink my Fortigen drink that I just talked about. Now, once I do that, I go downstairs, and when I go downstairs into my office, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do what's called a stack. So I'm going to do a whole video on stacks. But stacks can change your life. Literally, they can completely change your life. They have changed my life. And stacks there's different types of stacks, but essentially what a stack is a stack is a place that when we walk around with stuff up in our head, we get it out of our head and we put it down on paper. In some respects, it's similar to journaling, but it's different than journaling because it's answering very specific, targeted questions for what's going on with you right now. So I'm going to do what's called a prayer stack. And in a prayer stack, essentially what's happening is I'm having a conversation with God. I'm telling him what I'm concerned about, what's bothering me, what I'm grateful for, what I'm excited about. I'm telling him these things. And then I'm documenting the feelings that I get back, which in my belief, this is the Holy Spirit actually communicating with me. So I document what he says, and then I'm committed to following what he tells me to do. So I document this in the stack. I pray, I document that in my stack, and then I document what I learned and how I'm going to apply it, what I'm going to do with it. So a lot of times, like I love to learn, but the reality is that if I just walk around, listen to Audible all day, or I read books, but I don't do anything to document what I've learned, it's going to go in one ear, out the other. I'm going to forget about it. Even my morning reading, when I read Jesus Calling and I do the Course in Miracles, for example, if I don't document what the insights I got out of that are, I'll lose it. So where do I document it? I do it in the stack. And I meditate on that. So another aspect, while I'm doing my stack and I'm having this conversation with the Holy Spirit, I'm doing it through the guidelines of a meditation, where I put myself in a meditative state. And here's something that's really good to think about. So prayer is when you talk to God. Meditate is when you listen to God. One thing that really bothers me is the Christian community has this almost a belief that meditation is evil or it's ungodly. There's nothing that could be further from the truth. Meditation is how you hear God. So as I'm going through this stack, I'm going to be hearing what God has to say. And I'm going to document what he tells me, and I'm going to create an action plan to do what he says to do. And at that point, I'm going to be ready to rock and roll. I've documented everything. I've prayed. I've journaled. I've meditated. I've taken supplements to support my body. And at that point, I am ready to have a kick-ass day. I have a game plan for the day of what I'm called to do. I've planned out my day, and I'm off and running. So for you, if you're setting up an EMSR, just like I said with the NTSR, I would just focus on one or two things to start. It might be that you get up in the morning at the same time every day and you make sure you weigh yourself or you check your waistline. That might be it. Or you might get up and brush your teeth, signifying to yourself that your day is starting. Or you might get up and say, I'm going to take a green shot to make sure I get my vegetables in today. Or you might get up and say, I'm going to read the Bible for 10 minutes. Just one of those things. Get up and do that, and that's going to signify to your body that you are up and you are ready to have a great day. So I would think about which of those you want to do. My personal advice is that you focus on spirituality. You focus on connecting to God in some way. Because the reality is, I view this whole EMSR, it's like putting on my armor. It's like putting on my armor and getting my shield. It is preparing me to handle any of the shit that's going to come my way today. Now, most of my days, as I said, they're filled with blessings. I'm excited about them. But there's going to be some shit that's going to come my way too. It's just the way it is. It's going to come your way. You know this. So if you start with spirituality, you're preparing yourself to handle what comes your way. So that'd be my recommendations to start there. When you are right with God, everything else falls in place. That's what I believe. So I hope you found this video successful. I pray that you get your EMSR in place. You get your NTSR in place, your EMSR in place, and you use it to build a fantastic life. That's what I want for you. So thanks for giving me this time to watch. I hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you soon.